All systems nominal.
それでは早速全速前進
You wanna know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to this bonus mini-sode of On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. Today, I have a single stranger in my jump seat. Nurvuss, what's good?
Hey, how's it going, Brian? Thank you so much for having me.
We're convening. This is kind of a new type of episode that I'm just sort of trying out. Late last year, we started sort of semi-regularly streaming. And there was this kind of serendipitous moment where I think, Nurvuss, you emailed us, is that right?
I did,
Do I have that
yeah.
in my memory? Yeah. And you asked about Vanguard Bandits, which is something I had already had on the schedule multiple times since like the first year of our podcast. It just kept getting cursed and moved around, and like it didn't fit the theme, or we just couldn't make it work. And then I found out that if I assigned Nico to play a video game, she wouldn't play it. She would just watch a Let's Play. So I decided to just stream it and do something else with it. And that's where I'm at with it. But Nurvuss, tell us a little bit about yourself and like what prompted you to seek us out, and maybe your experience with Vanguard Bandits a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Nurvuss. I'm a erstwhile podcaster and games critic.
Right.
I used to write for a few websites, including Hardcore Gaming 101. And now I mostly just very, very slowly do my own thing on YouTube. And last year, I went down a Super Robot Wars rabbit hole.
Yep.
And played a whole lot of those, and watched a lot of Gundam, and also listened to a lot of your podcast over the summer. And while I was anticipating the release of Super Robot Wars Y, a game that I still have not played to this day,
Yeah.
I thought, I've got this copy of Vanguard Bandits that I bought when I was in high school. I wonder if that would scratch the itch. And the answer is kind of.
I think so. Comparing the two, you haven't played Y. You've played a bunch of other Super Robot Wars.
Oh yeah, I played like 4 of them last year. I went whole hog.
And were those like some of the newer? I'm not that experienced with it. I've seen a lot of the newer ones. I watched a lot of Y. And then I watched a friend of the show, Thaliarchus, did a bunch of streams of the old DS ones, and I really loved the look of those. But those are the only ones I've seen anything about.
I played a little bit of 30, the one that came out a few years ago. I think like the first one that officially got released that's not original generation. And I wasn't super impressed with that. I mean, I could see what it was going for, but it felt like there was not a whole lot of substance there past the robot cameos. So I played some of the fan translations of some of the older games, like Lord of Elemental for the Super Famicom, and the Alpha Gaiden old PlayStation 1 fan translation. And I got on a lot better with those. They seemed like they were trying to tell quite cohesive stories, not really breaking any new ground or anything, but I had a lot of fun with those.
Yeah, I think I watched Alice actually did a stream of 30 at some point. I think there's a VOD on our YouTube. I'm very, very bad at exporting Twitch VODs to YouTube in a consistent manner, so it may or may not be on there. But I don't think the newer ones have this like sleekness and polish that I don't really drive with aesthetically. I really like the sprites of the older ones a lot more. But yeah, we're not here to talk about SRW. We're here to talk about VGB, Vanguard Bandits, which is a PS1. It's isometric, I guess. Yeah. 3D and isometric are weirdly opposing terms in my brain. But yeah, it's an isometric like support strategy, JRPG strategy game, developed by Human Entertainment and localized by Working Designs. Which is something we'll talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, in terms of Vanguard Bandits, like, what's the vibe? What going into it, coming out of it? How are you feeling?
I was excited to revisit it. I was not a big fan of this the first time I played it, way back when, like 25 years ago. And I mean, I wasn't super attuned to strategy games at the time either. I've since come around on the genre, and I thought, well, heck, let's give it a go. I like the fantasy setting with big mechs. I mean, I think Escaflowne was probably at the height of its popularity around the time this released. They're going for a little bit of a fast follow of Final Fantasy Tactics, which was also the style at the time. It's got this sort of morality system from the Langrisser strategy games, which allow you to go down different paths and ally with different units depending on your choices. So it's all stuff that I thought I would be in the pocket for. In actuality, I'm still a little bit warmer on it than I was in high school. But boy, this is a slow and plodding game with a really, really rough localization.
Yeah, it's super, super rough. And then, I mean, I guess before we get into like the meat of it, is there anything else you're working on lately? I know you dropped to me in email on a totally different subject, a new podcast that you're working on. Did you want to plug that a little bit, or?
Oh yeah, sure. I'd love to. Thank you. My friend Denise and I are doing a Like a Dragon / Yakuza podcast. A replay podcast called Kamurocho Confidential. Again, hell of a time to start that with all of the controversies that RGG Studio are going through at the moment with casting less than savory actors in their new games. But heck, we're not going to let that stop us.
Yeah, that's kind of how we're feeling with doing so much Gundam, with all the
stuff with Amuro's actor.
Yeah, exactly. So
they kicked him to the curb though now, haven't they?
Kind of, largely. So like a lot of projects have. He was going to be on Metaphor Refantasio and they kicked him off that. But Sunrise, like he was on G-Quux. He was in G-Quux. They cast him in G-Quux after.
Oh
yes.
Gosh, I haven't seen it yet.
Very, very, very briefly in like a very corny little cameo, but
that
nevertheless
sucks.
Yeah, so it's a mixed bag on that one. I wish all voice actors stop doing shitty things.
Yeah, for sure. And stop giving them opportunities when they do.
Exactly. So yeah, I in terms of Vanguard Bandits, no voice acting there. So well, actually, you know what? I would say. So I was gonna say there's no voice acting, so there's not really a lot of room for controversy, but that's totally wrong because this localization is thick.
Yeah, this is Victor Ireland, of course, who did all the working design stuff, and Zach Meston, who handled the localization. Two grown ass men with the most juvenile sense of humor you could ever imagine. I understand that Zach has grown out of it and that he's expressed that he could have handled things better with 20 years of hindsight. Victor still seems very proud of everything he did, but takes all kinds.
I suppose, yeah. Working Designs gets a lot of credit, and credit where credit's due. Like, there's a lot of Western JRPG access that we would not have without Working Designs doing. But I would say particularly the Lunar localization. But and so if you look at them online, you'll see a lot of like sort of starry-eyed adoration. I just want to say I also am finding a lot of evidence, and if you play Vanguard Bandits, you'll see this. They tend to have like we mentioned this sort of, I don't know, edgelord sense of humor that's rife with like homophobia and slurs and misogyny in a way that's just kind of like eye-rolly. The other thing that they tend to do is make the games they localize less approachable, longer, more difficult to parse, specifically for the reason of, I guess, and the only like real correlation I can find here is from a Reddit post, so take that as you will, but so that people wouldn't return the games or be able to return the games or go back to the video game store as often, and also to undercut the Japanese independent like game guide market. You can't use a fan translated Japanese video game guide for Vanguard Bandits. Not that those really exist on the internet anymore because it's largely been destroyed, but because of the way the localization made like saving work differently, and it's just a whole mess. And I don't know why they would do any of that, really.
I didn't realize they were trying to undercut the guides. Like, I knew about the returns thing because it was kind of the Wild West at the game shops back then, and you could just, I think it had like a 7-day, like no questions asked policy. So people would just like
different
blaze
era,
through these games. And Working Designs in particular, they would put out these really lavish packages that they would sell at a loss. So I think like, I mean, that was their downfall eventually, like putting out versions of Growlancer that came with a wristwatch and didn't cost that much more than a...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just absolute nonsense. So I could imagine they were probably eating a not insubstantial amount of returns from more unscrupulous gamers.
Yes, that's definitely... And so there's a push and pull there for sure. But I haven't... Oh, God, the only other Working Designs project that I've interacted with is Lunar, and it's been so long I literally don't remember anything. So going off of all I have access to, which is Vanguard Bandits, I'm not particularly impressed largely.
It's not great.
Yeah. But yeah, it just to kind of get into like a little bit more of the nitty-gritty of it, if you're thinking of playing this game, I highly recommend, well, okay, you can try to track down a disc, which wink wink side eye nudge nudge is what I did, a real disc. But if you haven't done that part of it, if you're doing it a different way, I would suggest you check out the manual scan. I would highly suggest you check out the video game manual scan at videogamemanuals.com or the RPG Shrine website, which RPG Shrine for Vanguard Bandits is a fantastic looking like Web 1.0 website that reminds me of our own website. It's great.
I love how RPG Shrines has not changed at all over the past like 2 decades, and they're still indispensable. Everything on there is so good.
It's so fantastic, yeah. And the reason I say that is because this is from an era of video game where, I mean, due to a confluence of like different sensibilities and just like limited system memory, limited application memory, there is not a lot of explaining done to you about how literally anything works. The first couple stream VODs I have on YouTube, which I might even just get rid of those because I didn't end up having a good time with it at all. But I was muddling through, just kind of trying to vibe my way into the mechanics, which I mean, for the large part worked. But I do think it set me up to get the bad ending in a way that I don't think I would have maybe gotten if I had known some of that stuff going into the early missions.
Oh yeah, good luck figuring out what the little interviews post battle do.
If anything, it generated some great comedy because Bastion is our main character. Bastion will always say the same thing at the end of an interview session, which is like, it's time to stop speaking or something. And oftentimes the last person I talked to would have been Reyna, who's like extremely horny for him. So she would be putting on like this incredibly flirtatious one-liner, and then he would just say, "Okay, it's done." And that was very funny to me. That was I don't think that was an intentional part of the humor in the localization, but I thought that was very funny.
Oh, that's perfect.
But yeah, isometric Japanese RPG support strategy games. You're on a grid, you're moving around. Think Fire Emblem, think like Nurvuss mentioned, Final Fantasy Tactics is probably the big one, because if I recall correctly, that one, similar to this one, has directionality. Like, it matters what direction your characters are facing. Yeah. Which is not something that Fire Emblem actually has. So that stuff is all pretty. I'm actually not an expert in this space. I've played a buttload of Fire Emblem games, and I played Final Fantasy Tactics a long time ago. So I'm actually not super sure what is new and different about this game, other than I'm pretty sure the fatigue points thing is kind of a unique spin on some of the mechanics. But yeah, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I don't think I've encountered fatigue points anywhere else. I mean, there's the AP and the movement points, which I think is lifted wholesale from Final Fantasy Tactics. The battle system borrows a lot from Super Robot Wars Lord of Elemental, which brought in the counter, defend, evade system, which became the default for that series going forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the fatigue points are interesting, where like if you if you take a certain number of actions or attacks that are stronger than others, that will wear out your engine, and you can either end up stunned, or you can stun an enemy by forcing them to take a number of undesirable actions that will leave them immobile for a turn, and
exactly.
fully susceptible to an attack, except for when the game decides that it doesn't, because this game will cheat. This will fudge numbers whenever it wants.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's got this. There's like a cruelty. It's a very mean spirited strategy game in a way that I think is. As a seasoned Dark Souls player, like I can't help but give it to him when it's just like when you're just mean to me, and I end up outsmarting that mission anyway. It does feel good. There's really no way around it for me. But yeah, it'll do stuff like so. I would say the biggest thing with fatigue points is defending actions take up a disproportionate amount of fatigue points with regard to like attacking actions. And so like one thing the game will do is try to surround you and attack the same character with multiple units, so that they are forced, and you can do this too, obviously, so they are forced to defend or avoid, which takes up a bunch of FP, and then you end up getting stunned, which is, again, something that I tried to kind of muddle through. I didn't understand FP for like, I think the first, 3 or 4 missions, and so I would just be like, why can't I do anything? Why is this character just kind of not able to do anything? I think this is known as one of the more difficult strategy RPGs.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really brutal ones on the PlayStation 1, but this really does take a lot out of you. This is one of those notorious strategy games where if the player has a 99% chance to hit, you'll probably miss half the time, and if the enemy has a 40% chance to hit, they'll probably hit you every time.
Big time. Well, what I like about this game, to put a pot, because this isn't meant to be a full-on hater episode, because there's a lot to like here, I would say, and most of that comes in the visuals, I think. Oh yeah,
it's a beautiful game. It sounds really good too.
It sounds fantastic. So one of the comments I would get most often when I was streaming it was that the default mission battle music is weirdly jaunty for how mean the game is and how difficult it is. Like, I would be sweating. I would be kind of reaching my limit in terms of like frustration with like you said, like my character's just being useless, not hitting anything, taking all the damage in the world. And I would just be like at the end of my rope, and the whole time this like jaunty adventure game music would be playing, which is kind of an interesting energy. But most of the time, I would say the soundtrack hits pretty good. And then one of the things that this game has that I think is a huge strength in the PS1 era is it's got these like fully detailed battle animations that will happen every time your units are in conflict. And those can range from kind of very stiff animation rigs beating each other with stiff swords over the head to mechs casting lightning spells in a way that is incredibly, like, it just hits. It's so good.
Oh, it's really great. The screen resolution changes and everything, and you get these fully polygonal models engaging in their little dance. You could turn it off and speed the game up, but then like that's a whole lot of the appeal taken away from the equation, in my opinion.
Yeah, completely. I would turn it off sometimes if I was doing something like using my special legitimate PlayStation 1 features to say go back to an earlier save state.
Yeah. I
would turn off the animation so I could get caught back up and not have to deal with that. But largely I think the animations are one of the game's biggest strengths. The other being I think the mech design is pretty much a straight W all the way through. I don't think there's anything in this game mech design wise I don't like. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, they're pretty silly, but they hit a lot of what brings me joy as well, like the big ridiculous Pope robot that becomes your ultimate machine. The awkwardly translated Ultra Gunner, which does not have a gun. I thought this was a Gundam reference at first, with like, you know, the gun boy or the gun freedom. I had a peek at the Japanese manual. And this is part of working designs only kind of half knowing what they were doing. The Japanese name is the Urusagana, which I guess is the Japanese pronunciation of Verathragana, which is like the Zoroastrian equivalent to Ares. So we've got like a bunch of hodgepodge mythology and religious robot names.
Oh boy, do we.
Yeah, I think at one point Cerberus is translated as Sarbalus, so good luck.
Yeah, the Pope mech is just kind of indefatigably sick. And the difficulty downswing that occurs in the game when you get that mech and just start sort of leveling everything is kind of fun. Although that in itself is kind of mean-spirited too, because come to find out, so you get that mech after Chapter 3, and Chapter 3 is when it really matters for Bastion to have a lot of levels and have a lot of kills. After that point, if you're just leveling the battlefield with Bastion alone, none of your other characters are getting morale, which again sets you up for a worse ending. But that is what happened to me, unfortunately, because a lot of the time, the only way I could ever win a match was with Bastion alone. Everyone else had been taken off the field in a lot of these situations. So, but yeah, that thing is sick. And then the other one I really want to shout out, unfortunately, it's attached to by far the worst character in the game. But Andrew's ninja mech is incredibly cool. And there are other units that look like his, but his is the only one that when you're on the isometric map does a freaky little spin animation when you move him around.
That's got to get him dizzy. That's a ridiculous move.
I love it so much. It's so silly. But yeah, and then the last one I particularly want to shout out is the cavalry mechs. These are big centaur looking guys in neon purple and orange colors. Well, the one that you get is neon purple and orange color.
They're amazing. Yeah,
they look incredible. And like one of the things that we talked about in a very early episode of OSG, the Armored Core 1 episode, which I think may have been our second episode ever, that I talked about, is that I think the PS1 era low poly graphics are a really fertile ground for very fun mech design, very, very fun, chunky mech design. And that really comes through when you have a big ass horse with a big jousting lance that's running around.
It's like the most impractical robot idea ever, but like you can't help but love it. You've got this relationship system. I mean, you talked about getting the bad ending where you can talk to your teammates in between missions to keep morale up. They never have anything good to say, but it's like a way to gain more points, which end up tallied at the end of the game to decide your ending. It's a little hard to end up with a deficit of points. It sounds like you managed it, which I love. They do tend to go down arbitrarily, though. Like there's one character, Devlin, the mulleted grumpy boy. He will lose points anytime he doesn't attack. So a lot of your path through this game, even if you are keeping units alive, is managing Devlin's grumpy mood at the end of each chapter. It's a real mess.
Yeah, and I did not figure that out. I never figured that out. I'm finding this out now. And Devlin was one of the ones that was bringing me down the most, which is interesting because he's also, in my recollection, he ended up being one of the harder hitters for me.
He's one of the better characters. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and we'll get into the sort of very thin, very sort of, I don't know, I would say the plot barely matters really, but one of the things that he's got going on too is he has this very strange homosocial relationship with the fat phobic character that I found I found charming in a way that was like, okay, these two are kind of gay, but the other thing is that's also wrapped up in all of the actual constant slew of fat jokes that are leveled at this character all the time.
Yeah, he's got the lollipop in his mouth all the time. It's a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I did somehow. So I did do the interview thing at the end of every mission, but yet I still ended up with So I don't know. We can talk about it. You have the kingdom and the empire, and they don't like each other. Basically, that's kind of it.
Poor sweet kingdom, big mean empire.
Yeah, exactly. And if you read the story summary blurb that comes on the back of the video game manual, there's an implication that the kingdom was once the colonizing force of the continent. So like it's hard to even pathologize with them in the first place. But nevertheless, you're in control of Bastion, green-haired anime boy who is, wouldn't you know it, secretly the prince of the fallen kingdom. And you have this journey for him to reclaim his rightful throne, et cetera, et cetera. If you get the bad ending, which is to say so there's a couple ways this breaks down, right? If by the end of chapter 3, Bastion is a certain level, you can have the option to go on a whole different tier of missions. Yeah. And that I'm unclear as to whether or not that actually affects the ending or if it just gives you different missions. But nevertheless, if by the end you have not gotten along with your team well enough, Bastion will be brainwashed by the enemy boss, and you have to spend the final mission fighting your own teammates, basically, alone. I mean, you have these CPU-controlled allies, but as established in the early runs of the game where you also have those, they are incredibly stupid and basically do nothing but charge in and die. So you're basically alone. And that was not something I was expecting. I found it incredibly deflating.
Especially after the gauntlet of like the final few missions of the main game, just being faced with that. It's a real nasty wet fart.
Yes. And it's, to kind of give it a little bit of room, this is from a very different era of video game development, and I totally get the impulse to have a little fun with players who engage with the mechanics in a way that is not, or actually I'd say punish players who don't engage with the mechanics, which is something that I was definitely, I guess guilty of. Like I said, I use the interview mechanic. I tried to get people to have high morale. But I've played a lot of Fire Emblem games, but I guess I'm bad at strategy games. I don't know. I even had the cheating advantage of using save states, and I still managed to fumble that. I don't know.
Yeah, like I think each mech loses a whole lot of points if they ever fall in combat, and then you end up with like a deficit to get them back up. I don't think it ever tells you what raises affinity in combat either. So like I knew about Devlin. I think there's one or two characters who, like, if they use support spells that raises their affinity. It's different for everybody, and it's kind of impossible to tell.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that's just kind of like when you've obfuscated that stuff, and then when you're this sort of mean-spirited at people who have failed at engaging with it on the right level, it is like you said, a big wet fart. Do you have you gotten multiple endings? I know that there's a comedy one that I haven't been able to dig up any details about. But.
I have, yeah. I expected the comedy route to be something else, but I'll speak a little bit about the Empire route. That diverges on mission 3, where if you level up Bastion enough, you get the option to leave your father dying in the dirt as he's been struck down by the main villain, Faulkner. And Bastion goes after him, but ends up joining up with the princess of the Empire to try and stop him from within the Empire itself. It's basically the same battles on the same maps, except you have a party of Empire heroes. Sometimes you fight some mechs from the kingdom who are attacking Imperial cities and villages. It pretty much plays out the same right till the end.
Okay.
You have to hang out with an old lady who talks like Yoda. That's a lot. That it ends up being the waifu route between two different characters. If you're, it's judging your affinity between Princess Sadira or this ninja maid character named Cecilia, who fills the Andrew role. I think she's even got a spinning robot as well. And depending on who you're highest with, you either end up becoming the princess's new husband, or you run off to wander the world with a ninja maid.
That's kind of awesome. I'm looking at
right.
Cecilia's design. I like her portrait. There's a lot of portraits that are really rough in this game, and hers is pretty okay.
She's fun. Like, there's no reason why she's in a maid costume at all. She doesn't seem to be a maid. I don't even think she's in disguise as a maid. She's just wearing that. But I like the shining Gendo Ikari glasses when somebody's up to some secret schemes. That's very fun. But there's a new game plus route for where if you finish the game once before, when you reach, I think, mission 10, you're given the option to either continue on the kingdom route or declare your desire to conquer the whole continent. And this is called the ruin route. And from that, I expected this to be a villainous path, like in Langrisser when you jump ship and join the Empire. And it's not that at all. It's like a comedic super challenge route where Bastion teams up with the princess again, who's now on the run because she doesn't like being nagged. It culminates in a battle between the Empire's lead mechanic, and then your little nerdy mechanic ends up getting on the field for the first time. And he
I
ends
love
up,
that for him.
Yeah, he becomes playable for the final battle. And that ends with you learning that they're grandpa and grandson, and they have like a barbed reunion, and the little mechanic ends up becoming something of a scheming vizier, and it's hinted that he's going to control you behind the scenes. But it's not really a ruin route at all. It's just like it's a whole lot of goofiness. But
yeah, that is pretty goofy.
That's all right.
Yeah, I like on paper. I like that. I wish. I don't know. It's wrapped up in how difficult the game is and how obfuscating some of these like little branching paths are. But I like the sound of the Empire route. I kind of wish I might go back to it at some point. I think so. The thing about the streaming apparatus for me while playing it too is that I felt the pressure to be entertaining, and failing over and over again at a certain point. For a while, it's funny and it's fun. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, I have to finish this mission off stream. And that creates like a whole bubble of like backup sort of things that I just want to get through. And that probably contributed to maybe my getting the bad ending. So I might play it again privately, and like you, I might kind of be a little bit warmer on it in the future. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that the story lands. I don't know that many of the characters land. Like I mentioned earlier, Andrew is just like unbearable. Everything he says is awful.
Oh, he's so bad. There's so many awful things out of his mouth all the time.
Yeah. Despite his mech being one of the coolest ones. And then like in the default route too, like Sadira pilots a very cool like purple mech with a cool like rune sword. And you get to play her in exactly, I think, 2 missions. And there's even a couple missions where she will show up on the field just to stand there and watch. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Empire route is probably the most fun from getting some more time with Sadira and seeing the other side of the conflict. It doesn't go as far as I, would hope that it would, but it's probably the story at its most interesting.
Yeah. Any other standout mech designs for you?
I like the Zervan, which is the final mech that the antagonist ends up piloting at the end of the game with a big face on it. I love a mech with a big silly face in the torso.
Yes.
There's another face mech at the end of the Ruin route. It was called the 88. Working Designs renamed that the 69 because of course they did. That is it's a little bit like I can't remember the name of it. It's a little bit like the uncompleted mech at the start of Gurren Lagann. Just a big old face with arms walking around. So I'm quite fond of that as well.
Yep. There's a lot of we've talked about this before. That design lends itself a little bit to the headless warrior from Chinese mythology.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's pretty fun. Yeah, I like that ending mech. I like also I forgot the prince's name. There is a useless little prince who is kind of hinted to maybe be potential for big bad evil guy, but sort of falls off to the side.
Oh yeah, Duyere, I think.
Yeah, Duyere. Yeah, he pilots a like lavender colored mech, and what I like about his mech is he dual wields these like shotels that are really, really cool looking. Unfortunately, he basically takes constant L's, but I don't know, maybe it's different for him in the Empire route, but in my playthrough he kind of shows up and is constantly forced to retreat and suffer these humiliating losses, and then like almost off screen is deposed by Faulkner, and then is sort of off the table for most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, he's like getting used as a useful idiot to I think Faulkner is kind of playing to his desire to get out there and be the big boy, even though he's a little spoiled brat. And then he ends up getting framed for patricide.
There's a shark motif mech that shows up late in the game that has swords for arms that I think is not. It doesn't seem to be of the same design sensibility. It looks kind of like a Zoid.
Yeah. What I like about those is I think those are the forbidden mechs that were outlawed by the Empire, but are in use anyway because the blades are supposed to pierce the cockpit and kill the opposing soldier. Which, like, I guess you're supposed to be killing people in war anyway. But I do like the distinction that no, this is a very nasty one. This is taboo technology.
Well, and of course it's wrapped up in I think one of the more entertaining, if silly enough to undercut any like gravity of the plot, which is the general that has an on and off Russian German accent in the script.
I mean, he's fun. I think he just has that accent so he can almost call Faulkner fucker. I think that's what's going on there.
I agree. I also think that one of the more challenging enemies in at least the localization of this game too is the font used in all the dialogue.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like this loopy medieval script font that is so at odds with some of the dialogue, especially when it comes to like the weird pop culture references that are happening sometimes. There is a character who's straight up a California Valley girl.
Oh yeah, Princess Claire or whoever, yeah.
Yeah, who I don't know if she ever becomes playable, but I was missing her when she was off screen.
She's good though.
Yeah. She's very funny. There were a couple moments with her that my friend of the show PMC was watching the stream and sort of lurking, and he said multiple times about lines from her, "This conversation just de-lurked me." So that's fun.
I think, the pop culture references. Like, I think this is the third, maybe fourth Working Designs game I've played that has Calgon Take Me Away in it. This time is a death cry. If you remember those commercials.
Yeah, there's a lot of WWE references. Multiple people will say like "Step Up to the Smackdown" and like
we got Wayne's World. Another one, Bites the Dust. Yeah. Indiana Jones, Coca-Cola catchphrases.
And then mixed in with that too is sometimes Zara will say stuff like I must restore my honor or some shit when he's like destroying enemies, and it's like there's when you pair that with the confused religious imagery that's all over this game, it is an incredibly strange and unique vibe that I think holistically I end up liking, even though moment to moment I could not help but roll my eyes many times.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah. I kind of want to rate these mechs. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, but, yeah, sure.
Normally what we would do is we would rate the mechs on a scale of 1 to 10. And one of the important distinctions here is we're not necessarily rating the media itself. And that's important here because I think the media itself, I'm feeling pretty down on it right now. So I would give these, actually, what's your rating? Let's start with you.
I mean, I think we've got a nice spread here. I think in a better game, I would welcome these quite happily. A lot of the excavated super mechs, I think, look fantastic. Particularly the two warring light and darkness mechs, the Ultra Gunner and the Zolvan. I love that Toreador as well with the Centaur body. they're all winners in my book. I'm looking at pictures now, and seeing them on their own without these little bitty animation cut-ins really allows you to appreciate some of the detail on their designs, despite the low poly.
Yeah, I had not seen. I just found a drawn like illustration of a Toreador. Let me put it in the chat here. I think it looks. It just goes. I don't know.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't know this. I think the low poly obfuscates this a little bit, but it has like an actual like mane tail.
It has a tail. Why does it have a tail?
Because it's cool, I guess.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah. So from 1 to 10, how are you feeling?
I think this is a solid maybe 7.5.
I think these are so. This is a conversation I've had with again, friend of the show, PMC, who to plug his thing, PMC Trilogy on Twitch. He's playing through, I guess, every PlayStation 1 game ever. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to play out. He's very far along on it. So, but one of the things that he talks about is that he feels about PlayStation 1 low poly graphics the way I feel about sprites, which is that I don't think anything since has been quite as charming. That's something I say a lot about the Fire Emblem games is the Super Nintendo / GBA releases of Fire Emblem are the best of the series to me in terms of the visual appeal and the animation. Not a single Fire Emblem game since has really hit for me in the same way.
I was going to say I sympathize greatly. I'm very much a sprites on 3D backgrounds guy, so I don't think anything has looked better than Xenogears.
Okay, yeah. So you must be kind of driving with some of the newer Square Enix thing that they're doing, which is like super. What do they call it? Where it's like
the HD 2D.
Yeah, HD 2D.
Yeah, it's. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it really, really works. I want to get into some of the games. The only one I can really think of right now is Octopath Traveler, which I didn't really like. I'm hoping for some games that are actually really good to me that look like that, because it looks fantastic.
I wish I liked Octopath more than I do. Like,
yeah, same.
For all intents and purposes, I do like those games, but they really take a whole lot of time.
I hear the port of the gacha game that makes it not a gacha game anymore. I guess.
I hear that's good. Yeah, I played a little bit of a gacha game. I hear
it's actually really good. Yeah, but yeah. Part of the strength of this game to me is it is clarifying some of the charm that I think PMC is feeling from low poly that I felt about sprites, and that is such a strength for the mech design. I think that big clunky machines moving big and clunkily is a highlight of this era of games. I mean, this is one of the things that really hits about like the first Metal Gear Solid game, for example. So I think I'm going to give this an 8. I think if the mechs didn't look so good and act so good and move so good, I probably would not have finished a playthrough of the game. So that's probably where I'm at with it. But yeah, the awkward thing here is because this is a new format of episode, I'm not really sure how to close it out. If you want to replug any plugs, anything.
Oh, yeah, sure. This is a weird game. Human didn't really make RPGs. They didn't really make strategy games either. They did make a few. None of their earlier strategy games share no staff with this game.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's mostly like Fire Pro Wrestling devs who worked on this.
I know Human did the early Clock Tower games.
Yes.
There's a fantastic episode of the video game podcast Side Stories about those if anybody's curious. They sound really cool.
Oh, nice. I'm a big Clock Tower fan.
Oh, really? Yeah, I played the one on PS2 where you get a magical bow and arrow. That's really what I remember.
So the one directed by I think that's the last thing Kinji Fukasaku directed before he died.
Oh wow, yeah. I really enjoyed that game. So that game is absolutely ridiculous, but I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's the only other thing I know about Human. It's interesting. That's interesting that there's another wrestling connection there besides the weird localization jokes.
Yeah, which I think must have been completely unrelated. I think by the time this came out, Human declared bankruptcy and got all divided up by the time the US release came out. But yeah, cool, weird developer. They did a lot of adventure games and weird sims, like Clock Tower I definitely recommend. Also Misogyny Falls, which recently got a fan translation, which is like this really, really ambitious, small open world, Twin Peaks inspired mystery. A lot of people liken it to like a prototype to Deadly Premonition. It feels like it's going to spin apart at any moment with its real-time clock and every character on a schedule, but that's definitely worth a look. Weird dev. I miss them. They took a lot of chances. I don't think it worked out for them, but God bless them.
You know, even after the fall, we still have these fun artifacts. I'm looking at stills from Misogyny Falls, and I miss, not to be like Return with a V, but these games just look so good. I don't know. Maybe I am low poly pilled.
Heck yeah.
What anything else that you've been working on? Any other like plugs you want to do? They don't even have to be from you. Just anything you want to shout out.
Okay, sure. I mean, yeah, I mentioned our Yakuza podcast, Kamurocho Confidential. We're on Podbean. Please check us out. We've only just started. We're having some fun.
And you've launched, right?
We have launched. Yeah, we launched a couple of months ago. We're well into our playthrough of Yakuza 0, and having a wild and wacky time. You can find me most of the time on YouTube. I very, very slowly make videos, primarily about awkward, half-remembered old RPGs and survival horror games. So give me a follow if that sounds up your alley.
It's up my alley. I actually gave you a follow when you first emailed it, and I've watched a couple of from an outside source, someone who's not plugging their own stuff on the pod. These are good videos, and if you're into if you're like Nurvuss said, if you're into obscure, weird video games, and specifically survival horror video games, I think this is a great follow. I'm so interested in especially now that the internet's being destroyed, I'm so interested in the work of like discussing more obscure, less covered, and frankly, I hesitate to say abandonware because these are things that are in some ways accessible still.
They certainly won't let us buy them, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Any final thoughts on Vanguard Bandits?
You know, I'm glad that I returned to it. I can't wholly recommend it, but if its brand of late 90s mech tactics sounds like your kind of thing, definitely check out the first few missions anyway.
And I'm glad to have covered it too, because especially to part the curtain a little bit, we're so mired in Gundam right now on the podcast. And on one hand, I'm having a lot of fun because I'm fairly new to the franchise. On the other hand, one of the things I miss about our project that I'm trying to get back into in the next couple months is I liked talking about weirder, smaller stuff. We're supposed to be mechs across media, and we've been doing almost nothing but anime for a couple months now. So I would love to. We're about to cover a limited issue Dark Horse run of comics called Mecha, all caps.
Oh baby, I think I saw that in the comic shop when I was younger.
I did too, and I dug it back up, and I was like, okay, I'm a little bit sick of Gundam. I'm a little bit sick of anime. Let's do something that's like weird and different and didn't quite get a lot of attention. So, that's one of these things too. So yeah, that's what I'm glad to have experienced it for, if nothing else.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Well, Nurvuss, I would love to have you on again for anything else. If you have another mecha game, or even we're pretty loose with the term mecha. So like if there's something that's even arguable that you feel like you want to talk about, that you want to come on for a full episode, definitely hit us up again.
That would be an absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about Alice's playthrough of, I don't even think she's done yet, but we'll talk about her vibe so far on her playthrough of Iron Harvest, which is a, I guess, top-down strategy game. I've watched a couple seconds. Do you know anything about Iron Harvest?
It's somewhat related to Scythe. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct. It's somewhat related to Scythe. It's like it's watched her play it. It feels very like RTS coded. The robots are incredibly silly and cool. There's lots of cylinders with legs and guns. So we'll come back and talk about that. But Nurvuss, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, we'd love to have you again. And hopefully we can hang out soon.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, wow. Walking around the Polanian countryside sure is boring. Me and my bear here are really hoping that a Germany allegory breaks in here. I sure hope they aren't led by dear friend of the podcast, Kryo.
Yes, this Polanian countryside will be perfect for our evil science base built by, is that Nikola Tesla and Brian?
Oh my god!
I don't have an accent or anything, but I do. Sorry, I brought this board game. I thought we were talking about a board game. Does anybody want to talk about this board game with me?
Classic
I mean,
mistake.
like in an esoteric way, but first, I've got to get into this giant mech that's slowly going to shamble forward at about 2 meters per hour, if that's okay with you. Well, hello to the second half of this. We are going to be talking about a little game that I have been streaming on and off again, trying to do more on than off, the entirety of Iron Harvest. For that, Kryo has been joining me because Kryo is the one who said I should play it. I've brought Kryo and Brian here to talk about the mechs in Iron Harvest 1920 plus. Kryo, member of the Discord community and a freak, what brought you to Iron Harvest? Did you play this when it came out?
I did play this when it came out. I did not get involved at the Kickstarter level, but I do remember playing this.
Did not know this was kickstarted.
I vaguely remember it was, if not kickstarted, it was at least like I do remember them like doing some rounds of like interest and like funding, because I specifically remember a conversation that was like in people's inboxes that was like, do you want an RTS that's focused on multiplayer or more on like a story campaign closer to like a Warcraft 3? And that was like, that has stuck in my mind as like a thing that people really wanted at the time. And I remember seeing this at PAX East and getting a chance to play it. And I have been kind of championing it ever since as like a really interesting version of a Company of Heroes style RTS. Since that time.
Nice. Just Wikipedia is our friend. Announced in 2016 and then had a crowdfunding phase in 2018, which raised over $1.5 million. Originally planned to release in 2019 and got pushed back to September 2020. A great time to release a video game. So Iron Harvest is developed by King Art Games and published by Deep Silver, and it is made. King Art Games is a German video game developer who made a lot of clicking adventures. Here's the track though, because you have to talk about video game publishers when it comes to any PC-based video game, which is they were a Nordic Games published company who then got bought out by THQ, so THQ Nordic, and then bought out by Deep Silver. But that's pretty much all they've done. They've done a bunch of point-and-click adventures and things like that. Iron Harvest is kind of their big RTS. But for fans of the genre, they are the company that is doing Dawn of War 4 for Warhammer 40K.
Which is crazy, which is such a wild, like, totally understandable, but also like, because who else do you go to at this point where RTS games are kind of in like... RTS
developers that are still in the game.
It's RTS is so funny because there's a point where it's like there's a point in time where it splits into multiplayer focused, into like MOBA focused, and into very different styles of RTS games in the history of like RTS games. And so right now there's kind of a very small number of developers that you're working with when it comes to like, okay, who does RTS? And the version of RTS that you're doing is very different. Especially when it comes to a game like Dawn of War, where your prior sequel had, like, Dawn of War 3 had more of a MOBA component. Dawn of War 2 was way more of a squad, like, I'm taking my 5 specialists and I'm moving them around. And so now it's so funny that Dawn of War 4 is now going back to the Dawn of War 1 thing of we're building bases, we're like using those bases to like make guys. And it's like, okay, you can either go directly to the company heroes guys, you can go to the folks who made Iron Harvest, or you can go to the folks that are making Total War games. And the Total War guys are also making a 40K, a Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, they're kind of already, they're full up on that, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's not to talk about other video games, but I was so interested when they revealed it was going to be base building, because I think like a lot of people liked the Dawn of War franchise when it switched into, but a lot of people hated it. So it's very interesting that they're like, I don't know. Anyway, rest in peace, Relic Entertainment. Never forgotten. This is a modern video game that you can also play on PS5 and the Xbox Series X. But it's mostly a PC game, running Unity. Hey, we have to say it, and we're putting it right up front because it's very important. But this is set in the 1920 alternate history universe created by Polish artist Jacob Rosalski. Just to make it easy, Brian, you brought the board game. What was the name of that board game?
The name of this board game is Scythe. I've always wanted to play this board game, and it's like the only thing I kind of knew about this whole thing. By the way, do you guys think 1920 plus is something you achieve if you fail 1920 enough times, like an Armored Core?
I think you actually have to beat the entire game to unlock 1920 plus. You have to beat the 1920s to
unlock 1920 plus.
Well, that's what's happened, right? We've already beaten 1920s in real history, and now Diesel Punk is our plus. And so the plus will be like alien tech 1920s.
The interesting part about this is more of a telling of the Great War than the Great War II Electric Boogaloo. So what's the setting? Very simply, Nikola Tesla invented mechs. Everyone said, holy shit, that's cool as hell. Let's use mechs instead of tractors. And then, like what happened with tractors, they said, what if I put a cannon on top of that? And things escalated.
Now we have cylinders.
We got cylinders now.
I'm such a fan of the cylinders. I wish more machines were cylindrical in their nature. Like,
so this is the start of a great war. There's some weird story plot in it. Honestly, watch the VODs. It's a very fun story. The actual gameplay is very fun. I played a lot of Company Heroes 1 and 2 when they came out because I just love that kind of small-scale RTS. And I would say this scratches the itch in a very fun way. You collect resource points. You build units out of factories. You select all of your units and right-click.
Right. That's actually what I was going to say is for people who've never even played like an RTS, this is like the clicking you're doing, the verbs you're doing with when you're interacting with the game are the same thing you do on like an Age of Empires, but you are moving like a squad through a scenario instead of trying to like build your civilization or whatever, basically. Does that sound like a good way to put it?
Yeah, well, I think it's very much there's a specific genre. So like Company Heroes especially falls into the realm of like a RTS where you're not building nearly as many buildings as maybe a Red Alert 2 or a Age of Mythology or an Age of Empires, if people know that more than Age of Mythology.
Yeah, they do.
Because, like,
by the way.
Nowadays, yeah. But it's one of those things where, like, in those games, you're building tons of buildings to, like, maintain your population, to research new technologies, to get new things. In this game, you're just worried about, like, I have my 3 buildings, I'm putting out my squads and my mechs, and I'm moving around the map, and I'm trying to control points to get more squads, and you never really have to worry about being like, oh, I need to build another laboratory,
right?
Or I need to build more houses for my population. yeah, no more additional pylons.
I've never played an XCOM, but XCOM is very similar to this too, isn't it?
XCOM's a turn-based, so it's
okay. So that's the big difference, basically.
The closest you could get is there's a game recently that came out called Menace, I believe, and it's more of like an XCOM, but a squad XCOM instead of an individual soldier XCOM.
Okay. Got it.
And I think that also has mechs in it, I believe.
It does.
But it's also been a minute since I've tried it or played it.
I just remember being like, oh, that looks neat. Oh, it's still in early access. That's why I haven't touched it. We can't get into what I feel about early access games. So basically so there's a couple of different campaigns and they've added additional ones as the game has gone on. But they tell specific stories about specific characters. So we do have hero units, something Company of Heroes didn't have. We have hero units in this, which are more powerful units. For your Red Alert fans out there, you got your Tanya. She's here. She's shooting. She's got a bear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I know about the bear. Yeah, the bear.
A classic, and this is kind of a holdover from the original art, from the original like art book, is that there are a number of, and also the Scythe board game, I believe, is like all the hero units seem to have an animal companion, and that kind of also boils down for the 3 like face heroes of each faction, where Anya for Polania has a bear, the Russian woman who I forgot her name comes with a tiger, and the German veteran guy comes with 2 wolves.
It's Olga. It's the Russian woman, obviously, and Gunther is the Saxonian man.
I could have picked any name, and I probably would have gotten there, but I just chose not to, out of respect.
Now, we can't exactly talk about Usonia's heroes, because the Usonia part of this game is insane to me. I also haven't played that campaign yet. We haven't gotten to that. End of 2026, I'll have beaten this game.
Hell yeah.
So the actual campaign and gameplay structure is you have RTS maps where you either deploy with a set amount of units and have to accomplish something with it and unlock more units kind of in a narrative way. Usually they'll pivot once or twice to change the direction of it, so you'll go from offense to defense, or going from a small amount of units to let's build a base because we need to take this checkpoint. Which is cool. The actual story plot is very Nikola Tesla centered in a way that I don't approve of.
He definitely pops in. It's one of those where if you've seen movies that are more, or even like an Assassin's Creed game where there's a lot of times where they'll go, well, obviously we're doing a period piece. Why would we introduce someone who is a new character when we could just like pull the camera and say, that's Charles Darwin. He needs you to do this so he can give you upgrades. And in this game, it's like, here's Nikola Tesla. He's very important to what's happening next. And it's like, oh, okay.
Pointing at Nikola Tesla. He's so important, you guys. He's so important. The last thing I want to kind of note is that one of the things that this game does super well is environmental destruction. Mechs will just walk through buildings if you don't tell them not to. Buildings can be occupied by infantry, and you can just walk through them. And I think the way that the mechs interact with the environment in that way is very fun, but also that certain mechs can't just step up ledges is very funny to me. As we talk about them, we'll talk about some of the big ones, and it's like, oh, we're doing that, huh?
I think it's also just like a perfect example of like what an RTS is capable of, because if we were any further in like the timeline, if these were Titanfall mechs, or if these were Pacific Rim mechs, we would be complaining because why can't they have articulation? Why can't they get over certain things? And with this, it's like, oh, well, that's a little guy. That's a tin can with a bunch of like metal tractor legs. He can't get over this.
And he is
ridge,
shivering. He is that cold.
Oh, he's shivering the whole time. That's all those little motors.
Well,
running.
and like they're all their actual limbs or most of them, their extremities are actually pretty exposed and like lanky looking.
Yeah. You never feel like any of these guys are so powerful or overpowering that they couldn't be taken down by like a squad of infantry with some rockets. Like It's one of those where it's believable every time when one of your mechs goes down, which I kind of like.
Person-sized cans. Speaking of, so this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, we've never done diesel punk mechs, because Fallout Power Armor is atom punk, right?
Sure. I mean, X through Y punk is kind of whatever. But I will say we pushed it much further down the timeline, but we had the Leviathan books on the schedule for this year. And I would say that just in terms of setting and some of the aesthetic, they're way more steampunk than diesel punk, I would say. But
interesting.
It's like a similar, I don't know. You look at like the cover art of Iron Harvest, and you could see it happening in the Leviathan universe, I feel like.
Okay.
But yeah, but otherwise, Have we? I don't think so. Nothing crazy, right?
Nothing with that specific genre. We've done a
I
lot
think
of
the
clean
closest
babies.
you get might be like a Big O or a Giant Robo. But that's just from like a design principle and like a design like language that's kind of shared.
It's time to talk about the mechs of Iron Harvest. I put in 2 links here mostly because the pictures on the official ironharvest.wiki, which is a real thing run by this company, has a lot of dead pages and bad art. But then the fandom one isn't organized at all. So,
oh, yeah, the synthesis of humankind.
but it has better pictures and information.
I want to talk about the SERP. Look at that guy.
Oh yeah. Let's go through the list. So let's start with the Polania, as that's who you start with. So Polania's mech design is we had a bunch of sheet metal at home, and we just kind of started bolting it onto things. I want to talk about, so the one that I fell in love with first was the PZM7 Smiali, which has these little chicken legs and a giant bolt action rifle with a bayonet.
With a big ass bayonet. The bayonet is like literally a Buster sword.
This is my favorite guy, frankly. This is my favorite Iron Harvest guy.
This is when I envision the mechs in this game, it's it's literally a can on chicken legs, a tin can on chicken legs. I can't express enough.
With a guy just standing in it. He's literally just in this little metal coffin. And then when the gun shoots, he racks the chamber.
Phenomenal. No notes. This guy, love this guy. And especially in our playthrough where we were producing like 6 of these guys at once and like having them form a gun line and just eliminate the 6-pack, eliminating enemies and just melting them. And also they move nice and quick too. So it was like a perfect, the
speed of the mechs in this game is very fun. Like, they really balance it well. Artillery mechs, depending on the kind, like the Rusviet one we'll talk about on wheels, it's very simplistic, but it goes fast. Versus the Polania artillery mech has to walk and sit down and deploy.
It's so slow that I immediately was almost
the big
like...
spider guy?
Yes. Yeah. He is called the PZM13 Machni.
Yeah, this thing is...
And he looks like he's straight out of... what's the city
looks like
from
he's
Bioshock?
crab walking. Oh, Rapture. Yeah, he kind of doesn't he?
My favorite has got to be ya boy, the PZM24 Tur. The reason for this is this is one of those arts that I think about. This
is Rapture.
Art.
That's a big daddy or whatever, right? What's his name? Is that?
It's very Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. It has that same vibe of like, hey, this. I think it's very much like. I love the idea that they were like, we need a cockpit, and this has like the ideal of like, it's a ball gunner cockpit, but we're using it as like a regular cockpit for like a mech. And I think you see this where the Polanian cockpits are way more airplane inspired, or at least take that like vantage. Whereas like the Rusviet mechs, once we get into them, have kind of a boat hull aesthetic to some of their like heavier mechs, and I like that they kind of keep that design language for each one.
Yeah. I also like that they kind of keep the chicken legs for the anti-infantry versus the thick legs for anti-mech ones, in a way that's very fun. Also, the Tur is appears in the art piece Iron Harvest that this game is named after, the one I just posted, which has Anna, the Polanian girl in the front, this is where she's from. I found her.
It does a great job of sort of setting up, like, I think it's that perfect example of like, here is like an idyllic, like, 1900s picture, and there's just a behemoth in the background.
It's really
and I don't
cool.
think there's very few other mechs that kind of match that same like guy in the distance, or something bigger is happening outside of your like little village than the Tur in the distance,
Even the one right above that one, which is a similar concept, but it's a lot darker. It's like
he draws the Tur so much. There's like 17 arts of the Tur.
Yeah, that one, like the farmland has already become a battlefield. But the way this bottom one, like the horizon line is cutting the image directly in half between like this pastoral scene and the mech. Like this is just an incredible painting. Like holy shit.
No, the art is tremendous. You can see why they made like a game out of this just based on like, and especially I'm glad that, you know, from this art, they went and made it like a competent game, because like you look at the other example of, what was it called? They made an awful movie with Chris Pratt recently that was also based off of Jacob Rosalski's art.
Oh, Electric State. I didn't realize that. Oh, I didn't realize this was the same guy.
That's based on his other art book that has like a story about a girl who's kind of going through this like, you know, area that's taken over by robots in a robot rebellion, but it's way less of like an adventure in the art book as much as it is like a haunting kind of like road trip as she kind of explores this area and like, you know, tries to find a lost brother, I believe. And then they decided to make it into like a action adventure Netflix movie.
Yep.
That did not do well.
Oh, I mean, the trailer, I said to myself, wow, that could have been cool. Instead, they put Mr. Christian Wife Man in it, and so I can't even give it a chance.
That's how it goes. That's how that is.
You guys want to talk about not Germany in a not problematic way with me? Or no, wait, we have to talk about Rusviet. Legally distinct Russians.
Yeah, let's jump to Rusviet. Well, I have to do one small jumping point, which is, I don't know if Brian's seen Uncle Lech Koss's gorilla robot for the Polanians. It's this...
You're right. This isn't here.
It's this crazy mech. If I can find it, I will show it to you. It looks like a sea mine, and this thing is like nuts. Here we go. This thing is fun. It like rips around. That's a bad picture of it, but it rips around the battlefield, like carrying itself around on its like knuckles. And it's just this like,
yeah, this is super cool. Oh my God.
It's like a ball suspended on the frame holding the arms. But the gorilla vibes are insane, and it literally does just rip the enemy apart and does the fist punch thing with it. My only note is that is an open cockpit. One dude could shoot him. But he is a hero unit, you know?
Well, he is claustrophobic.
That could be it too. It might get. It may smell crazy in there. We have no idea.
What are you doing in there, Uncle Lev?
yeah. What's going on? It's like, I need all this air. Why? Well, it's an open diesel motor right next to my face. I don't know what to tell you.
Dude's just inhaling it direct to the dome.
Little do we know, all that exhaust was just from a 1920s vape that's the size of a small parrot.
So, when we talk about Rusviet, we have to evoke Tankhead.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
They are very Tankhead. They are also just boats. The design philosophy of Rusviet mechs is boats.
Yeah, it's very much hulls. It's very much like, hey, these are wide guys or tall guys. You get to pick one. They can either be tall or wide, and then they always have to have like a prow or like a wedge to their design.
Right. To talk about the SHM-69. Nice. Which is the front of a boat with two giant size for hands.
Like praying mantis pizzers. Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah. This guy's scary.
This is brutal as
he's
hell.
a perfect anti-mech weapon in the game, but I also love the concept of like, hey, if you get close enough to some of these softer mechs, you can just punch through them.
Those things look sharp as fuck. It's kind of brutal. I don't know.
Those are nuts. And then, if I remember right, the other major heavy Rusviet mech is just that, but they replaced the sharp arms with guns. Because I believe it's the...
This is Lev's guy, which is just the Titanic. What is it even called?
I think it's just attached to him. It's not so it doesn't even get its own name. But yeah, this thing is sick. It has these like spinning saw blades for hands and then like crazy top-mounted guns.
Saw blades, by the way.
Chainsaw saw blades.
I love that it has handlebars to climb on top of. I also love that it has shoulder cannons that just look so fucking goofy because they have little slides to reposition to shoot in front of him. It's so good.
I like the SHM-70 Gulai Gorod.
Oh yes, I think that's what I was thinking of, where it's like a huge body.
It's like this like big. It's like the prow of a ship, but with these like fat little trundling legs. Oh my god, I love this thing. It's
great.
So cute.
One side has a grenade launcher cannon, and the other just has an artily cannon, and then it has guns
stubby.
on top.
It looks like a baby. It looks like a war baby.
It walks like a war baby.
Yeah, a lot of these guys also, if you're just seeing the images, you can't tell. A lot of them that I've seen at least walk like they have a full diaper. A lot of them are walking like that.
I think
that's all that armor.
It's really cool to think about mechs without gimbals or shocks or anything. Like the people in these mechs are getting thrown the fuck around.
Brain damage, concussion, TBI, 100%.
No, this is fully like I saw someone describe mech piloting as like if you want to simulate it, you don't need to like hop in like a plane simulator or a tank simulator. You need to hop into a roller coaster. And that's for like a lot of mechs. That's like, exactly. And that's kind of the vibe. And this is way more like you need to hop in your uncle's pickup truck that has no shocks and no brakes and just go.
Oh my God. You're hitting your head on the roof. Okay. I want to talk about one more of these. This one is called the SHM-68 Nakovalnya.
Yeah.
It's like a giant wheelchair.
So this is the Katyusha rocket launcher allegory. He just rolls around and shoots a bunch of missiles. I love him. He's great.
Oh, it's like a Hwacha or something.
Yeah,
I see.
It's basically like a Hwacha, and the missiles do a great job of not being nearly as. It's definitely a quantity over quality, and we're hitting everywhere in this like area. It's kind of amazing watching all the missiles kind of come out of it and go everywhere else, and then kind of come back down on a target.
Yeah. Honestly, the Katyusha rocket launcher, my favorite part of World War II. What if we just shoot a bunch of missiles at them to saturate the target? Do we want to kill or damage anything? Nah, just shoot missiles at them.
I will say, I really hate the... I will have nightmares about the sound that the SHM-86 Kolokol makes. This legged Rusviet walker.
That's a wiener. That's a penis.
These are such little guys, and they run around and they make this very specific, like spring-fed, like kind of like cranking noise before they fire off like a little.
It sounds like a Jack in the Box.
It does, and it is so frustrating. I've had so many missions where they'll just like spam a ton of them, like they're little scout guys, and just like run them around, and you'll just spend a whole mission listening to them just like firing this, and it's a unique sound compared to everyone else's cannons.
To kind of visualize it for you, Brian, those two wheels on the top spin and shoot the grenades from behind them. It's
like a baseball launcher?
Yes, like a baseball launcher. That's a great way to put it.
Cool.
No, these things are nuts.
Fuck, these designs just are crazy.
I'm gonna use this to talk about it. The power armor used in this doesn't really fit my metric for mech, but I want to give it a shout out. And specifically, I want to talk about the Groza.
Yeah, God.
So you take a Russian guy, you give him big feet and big hands, and you put a hat on him that looks so silly.
This looks like a Ratchet and Clank villain. It does not look like it's in the same video game at all.
He does look like...
Oh, God, it's so funny. It's so funny seeing him. Well, I feel like the specific jumpsuit you're not supposed to be seeing at nearly the angle that we are able to see via the wiki. Like, you can definitely see that jumpsuit is like not to be viewed from this angle.
Or that close.
I definitely hate these guys way more than I see them a lot more than I do the Polanian equivalent, which is the PZM2 Ricers. I know we're butchering all these names, and apologies to all of our listeners. I mean, you know,
I have basically an Eastern European accent.
But these anti-mech infantry Russians are like everywhere. I feel like every campaign mission has at least 3 squads of these guys. The shield guy is phenomenal. I love his little grenade launcher for the Polanians, but it is funny because like you'll see none of these guys. The Russian anti-mech like version with the exosuit because they're anti-mech melee guys that can jump, they have a jump ability. It's almost like you'll like walk into ambushes and like 4 squads of these guys will jump over a building and like come and get you. And every single time it's like, oh God, I've like moved my group of mechs into position and now these like melee guys are running around their feet smacking them.
Like, oh shit,
and
oh fuck,
every
oh
time
shit.
it feels bad. They love messing us up, but it's just great.
Let's talk about Saxon. Saxon is definitely not Germany that has already conquered France. Don't point that out. France deadly silent in this. Saxon's design is U-boat.
Yeah, I mean it's squares, rectangle. These are rectangles.
Yeah, they're rectangles. I like them. The SDKS 78 Isaglem, which is like basically a Panzer III tank with little
but
legs.
on little crab legs. Yeah,
I do like the little wires. They're cute.
I feel like it's definitely, yeah, they have very like tank forward. You almost are sitting there and they're like, they very nearly figured out the tank. And then they said, hey, we're going to put legs on it. We're going to actually do this mech thing. It's almost like everyone else figured out the mech first.
They accidentally tipped a tank over during practice, and then we're like looking at it on its side, and we're like, wait, now hold on.
It definitely feels like they went and said, we could just do the tank thing. And then they said, well, no, we have like a guy who makes the legs for all the mechs, so we have to put it on this thing. We can't use treads.
What they don't talk
they
about
end up with us.
in Iron Harvest is they never invented treads. You don't see one tread.
I think that's true.
Where we're going, we don't need treads.
No, I was about to refute you because I was like thinking like, oh wait, the machine gun, but no, the heavy machine gun has those little legs.
Yes, it does.
So the SDKS-49 Grimbart, that's a square.
That's just a square.
Okay,
That's a cube.
something that they do with the designs of these that I think is fun to talk about is how they use view slits and lights to give these things faces. This guy's got a little squinty eye on him.
He does, yeah.
But yeah, he's
That machine gun is just really, it looks so good. Oh my god.
Is this the Goof custom?
I think that's a hard sell because I feel like no grunt unit in Iron Harvest ends up being nearly as like Goof custom as anyone else.
What if Norris had Goof come to me and this thing busted out of the barracks on the other side of the city? What would you do?
That'd be
Oh my god.
God.
I can't find a gif of it, but I do. Yeah, worth pointing out that the Saxon heavy machine gun has little legs, and it can stand up and walk and reposition.
I think it's all the machine guns, if I remember right, because like they only made the one machine gun model, and then they just were like, hey, everyone has the same field gun, everyone has the same machine gun. But yeah, I think I got it here. Let me see if I can pop that in. But yeah, the machine gun has its own special little like walking feeties.
But it's like one of those, it's like that one art piece that has the million legs and moves kind of vibe.
Metal Gear Excelsior, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Hey now. hey now. There is one that's not on here that we have to talk about, which is we need to talk about Brunhilde.
We need to talk about Brunhilde. Brunhilde's
We need to talk about Brunhilde. Brunhilde is a land battleship piloted by your hero unit.
It's
Gunter.
an elephant.
He does an elephant walk. He just has a bunch of guns on him.
This is
Honestly,
Star Wars.
Yeah, he's an AT-AT.
Yeah.
Fat AT-AT.
Fat
Or is that
AT-AT.
look like
Fat
robot? Yeah,
He's a fat at.
Fat AT. And then Prince William also pilots the cuntiest little mech you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah,
so
this
this is the
thing-
prince,
God.
and he pilots the most audacious golden.
He's a
little-
paladin. This is World of Warcraft.
Yeah, he's a paladin. Got gold. He's got a lion on him. He's got the whole thing. I
Yeah.
really like this one because this is like the most like. How does one say? This is the most standing man mech we're gonna get.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Any of the other Saxon mechs?
There's an
that
egg. We don't have to talk about it. I just want to say there's an egg.
The Stiefmutter? What does that even do?
It says that it uses remote controlled explosives. I have to imagine it like skitters around everywhere and poops out mines. or something.
Yes, if I remember right, actually, yeah, the design has the concept art actually has the mines here. They're mono bike mines, and if I remember right, you deploy it and it deploys the mines out, and you
look
can
at
see.
that.
Yeah,
Those are Okay, hold on. Now we do have to talk about this.
The hula hoops of mines.
They're what if a grenade was that thing Mr. Garrison built in South Park?
good old monocycles. That's actually, I think they they get around this by having the one cavalry unit, but that is the one thing we kind of miss with this, is that you only ever really have an infantry and you have mechs, and you don't really worry too much about like other vehicles or even like a cavalry unit, except for I think there's one Polinian cavalry hero. But for the most part, it's funny because there's no motorcycles, there's no like monocycle troops. You don't really see a lot of like,
and there's cars in the maps, like in the background and environment. There are diesel based vehicles. We know these exist, but the story is told through trains and mechs. But you forgot to mention one small personal vehicle that exists in this game. We have to talk about the Sky Bike briefly.
So the Sky Bike specifically, we have not encountered yet in the campaign because it was part of the Usonian DLC. They added all of these to all factions. These are little scout guys with some lovely machine guns set to it. It's like a little Zeppelin bike. It's phenomenal.
I love this. Look at how I love how safe this is, because if he changes the position of his ankle at all whatsoever, the foot's coming off.
Oh yeah, he's dead.
Look at that.
He's done.
But what about his big brother, the gunship?
Yeah.
The gunship.
These are great.
The gunship is a ship cannon on like an angle to aim it,
like a dirigible.
3 balloons.
Yeah.
All I can think is.
Wait, no,
the
this
recoil.
is so stupid. You fire this thing once and you're gone. It's over.
Rest in peace, that guy.
These are Guns of Icarus coded. These are definitely in that same vein of, oh yeah, this is going to fire once and that poor guy on the top is flying off, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
it's just
good.
rocketing itself right into the ground. Oh my God.
So our last faction, added in later DLC, is a little country called Usonia!
Good old Usonia.
Usonia. I'm trying to USA, but it's not working. Usonia has a Lawrence of Arabia campaign, from what I've read, in which you have a pink-haired princess that you protect. I'm going to be normal about her when I meet her. But I kind of like that they follow, like, American military Navy structure. So it's the M19, the M22. They have less units, smaller group, but those are cars.
Yeah, they're like 1920s
car tanks.
Art Deco cars. I would say the M29 Salem, that specifically is straight up like Magitech armor from Final Fantasy VII. Like almost pixel for pixel. That is a drawing of a fucking Magitech armor from Final Fantasy VII that Shinra uses.
I love our buddy the Stark.
Stark
I love this buffalo.
It's a cow, isn't it? Yeah.
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 Oh, hold on. I'm coming back around on it.
There you go.
Is that a
See?
giant piston weapon?
Yeah.
They put horns on my boy.
It's a some kind of pile driver or industrial driver of some kind.
In both form and name, the Adux is some kind of fucked up Xeon carrier. This looks like a suppository to A to B.
Yeah, but what if
This
it
is
walked
a-
around on about 20 little fucked up piston legs? Have you thought about that?
So if I remember right, this is a stealth artillery is the intent behind this. And the idea is that it has a little gun in there and it turns invisible. You can like put it into a position and then it'll like open up and its guns are inside and it'll fire.
I don't like
it.
Looks like
right,
it's giving Mirelurk. I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like
no,
it.
it's
When
definitely
it pops open, it pops, though.
It's bugs. I don't like it.
It's definitely kind of an interesting idea. I wish it was a transport instead of a artillery. I wish like it has way more like armored personnel carrier coded than it does hey, this is a gun tank.
I'm just thinking a lot about that little helmet on the side, though. I'm thinking
The
about
little,
him
like
a lot.
sidecar, like the bridge or whatever the hell.
Oh yeah, the Nox is just the Nox is doing too much. I feel every time I see the Nox, I always feel bad
that's
for him.
like you can fire all these guns maybe one at a time over the course of like It's not very. I don't see. I'm not really.
So we have two. Hey, Kryo, what do the numbers mean? Mason, what do the numbers mean?
What do
We
the
have
numbers
Masons.
mean?
So we have William Mason, who is actually just wearing Fallout power armor.
So can I tell you a fun secret about William Mason?
I would love to hear a fun fact.
So part of his ability, because you have not played yet, Alice, any of the Usonian campaign, I can tell you that William Mason, his ability, instead of having a fun animal, he hops out of his power armor and he runs around with a pistol while his power armor transforms into a turret.
Oh, Zero Suit Samus.
Yeah,
Jesus
he's
Christ.
Zero Suit Samus is around.
He's a Titan pilot.
I'll buy these. I'll buy this if he is in. If it's like skin tight rubber.
It's like a.
It's got to be slutty, or this is not lit.
No, I think it's very.
That's
early,
just a Resistance character. I love those games.
he's just like a little football guy in his little football guy outfit. So unfortunately, it's not Zero Suit Samus. I'm sorry.
In the power armor itself, it looks like what if there was a Diesel Punk Captain America outfit? It's like okay, whatever.
That's what they're going for, and it's understandable given the setting and the idea. But it is one of those things where it's like, you could have done.
We don't
different
need to
stuff
talk about the Kirov gunship. It's not a mech, but the Usonians also have a fucking gunship. That's pretty neat. I don't know. I think he looks pretty silly.
What about
his dad? Also, his dad is in charge of the ship, Admiral Mason. So that's cool.
Yeah, this thing. God, this flying the Admiral Mason. I think it's called the George Mason Zeppelin. It's such a fun, wild. It has
it's like a
battleship
Zeppelin with
energy.
an exoskeleton.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It also looks like very Art Deco with the front.
Bioshock
No, it's
Infinite.
doing a lot, and I think it
Very
does feel good for having, like, as a hero unit that's like, I feel like every faction has a hero unit that's like big. Like, I feel like the Rusviets obviously have our friend with the saw blades and the shoulder cannons, and then the gorilla mech for Polania, and then Brunhilde for the Saxonians. So it's good that the Usonians then come out and they say, hey, we have a big flying battleship. What are you going to do about it?
Also wards. Their version of power armor fucking
They're having fun. They're definitely
What's he
a
doing?
very different faction.
There's so much exposed body parts in these power armors. I can never believe them.
Yeah, definitely compare these guys to, I don't think we showed Brian the Saxonian power armored guys, which are the mortar guys.
Oh, yeah.
But you can compare these lads to our friends.
Oh, yeah, no, I like these guys a lot more, unfortunately.
Who are just the Hellgast? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do like that everybody gets one. Palladium has
Everybody
the
gets
best.
one.
Everyone needs at least one mech infantry. I do wish there was more mech infantry, but I understand why you don't have more.
Totally.
But they're great. I feel like all the designs are at least inspired, you know? And
There's
I do
a
feel
clear
like
through line in the design. You can find a lot of cool behind the scenes design stuff on these too. I found while looking where they like break down like, oh, we stole this from this kind of ship and we stole this from this kind of car, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, there's a way to do this Eastern European like post World War like aesthetic that just kind of feels, I don't know. There's like, you guys know, there's rancid vibes out there. I feel like
I've been really big into Trench Crusade lately, and one of my number one issues has been the amount of like the German style Stahlhelm helm versus sort of World War I styled helms and it's like one of those things where it's like, hey, you could have picked any helm design. And even when like there's demons running around in Trench Crusade, you could have picked any helmet design from all of history, and you kind of pick a very specific and kind of coded one. It's also one of those things too where like you just see it a lot in like hobby spaces and like historical wargaming spaces, and for some people,
which have
it
just
has-
evolved.
huge.
Yeah.
well, it's one of those things where for some people it really has no like there's no ick factor for some people when it comes to like, oh, I'm just building my, you know, group of like stormtroopers for my game of bolt action later this week. And for other people, it's like, hey man, I'm never going to touch that army because like there's a whole history of why you don't want to do that. I'll play anybody else.
I just feel like these designs manage to feel like they're evoking the place and time without being like overtly like you're playing as a Nazi scientist or something if you pick this, et cetera, et cetera.
And I think that definitely makes sense. Well, especially like there's a I'm a big fan of the mech design in Ring of Red, which is a PS2 video game it's about a like post World War II Japan where the North Japan and South Japan are like divided into like a North-South Korea kind of style conflict. But one of the weirdest parts of the game for me is that even though it's after World War II and you're part of sort of the post-war Allied government, all the infantry in those games are very World War II German military coded in their uniform design and their helmet design. And especially because it's like, hey, you're the good guys and these are all your guys. Whereas the Japanese independent forces have very non-historically like inspired outfits versus like what you're using. And so it definitely is one of those things where in my head, it's kind of hard for me to recommend that game without the caveat of, just so you know, this is a game that has a lot of mechs with infantry fighting together, and the allied infantry, the good guys, are almost always going to have that little like tinge to them that you may be like a little put off by. Right. And I think also with this, setting it in like a World War I inspired setting and putting it in the time period that it does give it a little bit of a sidestep compared to. Now, that's not to say this game doesn't have some of those like influences. We haven't talked at all about the campaign only faction. That's the specifically like the Tesla guys, if I remember right.
So I will say the game is very loud that the people behind all of this are a cabal of secretive society people pulling the strings.
The Lolly Low.
The Lolly Low. And they go out of their way to make, like, even Prince Wilhelm, who is like, hey, we should just start killing people because they killed our guys, kill all the civilians. He's like, none of us think like you. This is crazy. But it can get kind of fucked up. My thought on Trench Crusade is I need the fan base to make the effort to make it acceptable for women to play.
That's a lot of miniature wargaming. Not to worry though, like I feel like there's a lot of
I will say 40K has gone pretty gay in women.
Woke. Games woke shop.
Am I right?
Now more than ever, anybody and everybody can boot up a copy of Tabletop Simulator and try out any game they've ever wanted to try and like find people who are willing to like play it with you and like try it out, compared to any other time when it's like, all right, I'm going to drop $200 on a starter set for this game. And then you like put everything together and you paint all the minis and then you go to play with someone and you go, oh, I don't like playing this game. And the only other person I'll play with at this game I don't like, and they don't like me. And so now it's like kind of a new renaissance of games, partly because there's so much like player testing and also just like early adopters of people who are like kind of locked in and kind of tuned into it. So, I mean, I'll just say that like, while you may not find a place with like certain members of like a community, it's also like, hey, there's a lot of people you can bring into it. There's a lot of people that you can like talk to. And also like, the barrier for entry is like lower than ever when it comes to trying out a game and like creating your own group.
The board game, to speak of Scythe too, the board game space has exploded in a way that it feels like games like Scythe and like I have a game called Unfathomable that are like these really crunchy, complicated board games that are basically a one session war game with the amount of like miniatures and board spacing that you're dealing with and like the real estate factor of like the mechanics. Like those things are, I feel like, onboarding a lot more people to want to deal with big set pieces in games.
Which is compare it every single time to like, hey, this is a board game we are going to spend an entire day playing, and like it's one of those things where a lot more people are open to it, you know? Yeah, I was at a game shop once and a guy was trying to set up a pickup game of Twilight Imperium, and I'm like, that's
pickup game?
That's not something you can possibly do as a pickup game.
I will say on Wikipedia, Scythe says that it has a playtime of 90 to 115 minutes. I'm looking at the photo of this. I'm looking at my like little Cthulhu version called Unfathomable. I know that I would say it's at least a 2.5 hour play on something like this, especially if you're like us and you're yappers.
My Twilight Imperium story is that I was invited to play it once, and at the hour 3 mark, I got up from the table and said, "I'm good," and I left. They weren't really close friends. It was in a gross apartment. I shouldn't have been there.
That's how that goes. That's how, searching companionship through board games can sometimes bring you to places you wouldn't even go with a mech-sized gun. But,
Well, that's us talking about Iron Harvest. We're going to continue streaming this. I swear to God, I'm going to finish this with Kryo. We are playing it co-op. I do want to shout out that this game supports 3-player co-op for the campaign. It does have multiplayer that is still active with some crunchy people, but you can just pick up a skirmish game against NPCs with your friends and enjoy this game fully. I'll say that pick it up on sale. The campaign alone, if you like this kind of mech, and if you like RTSs, I'm legitimately going to say this is probably the only good RTS I've played in the last decade.
It's definitely nice. I think there's definitely some competition with like some of the company heroes that I've tried that are really good. I know, I feel like Dawn of War like comes and goes when it comes to like, even like with the way that Dawn of War 2 is. Dawn of War 2 is like a phenomenal experience, even though it's not this style of game. But it is, again, a very different experience than like an Iron Harvest. But definitely highly recommend checking out Iron Harvest, especially when it's on sale, especially if you can get the DLCs for it too.
Oh, yeah.
Cryo, what do you rate those goddamn mechs?
Goddamn mechs. I am going to put... Gosh, I think I'm going to put...
On a 1 to 10, only the mechs. You can't include the bear.
Ooh, I can't include the bear at all.
Or the artillery train, which is listed under the mechs on the wiki, but is not a mech.
Or the artillery train, which is a really fun set piece. I mean...
Alice wanted to count jets as mechs, but we'll let this count as a mech. Interesting. Noting that down.
Okay, I will concede that the artillery train from this and Girls Who Panzer the movie are mechs.
Oh my god.
God. Oh, how the turntables. Here we go. I'm going to make a unique choice, and I'm going to say that I'm going to give the entire Polanian Republic's stable of mechs a 10.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
I'm going to say that these guys are the, like, when I think of this game, I only think of these mechs. I think for the most part,
I do get that.
These guys are a phenomenal, like, just a touchstone of like, here is what you want from this game for these mechs. You're coming because you want to see like the Smiali, you want to see the Strasnik, you want to see these guys blasting apart buildings and like fighting other mechs. And they just cut such a unique figure on a battlefield. I think I want to rank, just for time, I want to specifically rank like the Grimbart and the Isegrim from Saxonia as like 7s.
Okay.
I'll put Brunhilde as like an 8. I'll put the rest of the Saxonian Empire as like a 6.
Yeah, strong 6. Yeah.
I feel like their design language is, I mean, every faction has very consistent design language. I will say that when it comes to some of the Saxonian designs, I do feel like it's just taking the Isegrim like model and then just being like, all right, it's a much larger guy. It's a much differently plated guy. We're adding an extra turret here. We're adding an extra turret there, you know? And also just like overall, I think they kind of own like the boxiness. And then I'll say that Rusviet, I'm going to give a 7. And for the Kolokol, specifically the SHM 86 Kolokol, I'm giving that fucker a 4. Because I can hear it in my nightmares. I hate this thing, but not because it's bad. It also sucks
to play with. I don't know. Gameplay sucks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you see it all the time. It blasts apart your infantry when you're playing against it, and then when it's your time to play as it, you make like 3 of them and they get exploded. And I just don't. I cannot fathom it. I can't understand it. I think Usonia, I'm going to give a 6 as well. I feel like the design language is really interesting, and they keep it all kind of very consistent with what they're doing, but I feel like nothing ever hits the same as the like Polanian mechs when it comes to sort of design language. And also they just have fewer mechs to work with. I know that's because their faction like works different, and they have more airships. I believe they specifically have like
they like 3 more
the
airships
Revere and Samson airships that they have instead of other mechs, and it makes sense for what they're doing. It makes sense for the campaign that they're in. But I think I would have liked to see, I mean, I'm an infantry sicko, like at heart. I love seeing like takes on infantry. And so I would, anytime these factions are like, hey, what's up? We're out here and we have like more vehicle minded stuff. I'm like, could you maybe toss in like one extra, you know, mech infantry instead, or like mechanize an infantry that shouldn't normally, like a flamethrower unit.
Yeah. Just a little more play there for it with the mechanized infantry.
But completely understandable, especially with this style of game, like with a Company of Heroes style game where, for the most part, the like mechs and the vehicles are what is unique to your faction, and then everyone's infantry, except for like one exception, is going to be exactly the same for each faction. It makes sense from a design standpoint where you don't want to be like bogged down making a very unique, like, you know, oh, every faction has their own special type of rifleman that has their own special, you know, stuff to them. Not that this game doesn't do that, because I will say I have noticed that like the infantry specifically for like Rusviet, they all have shotgun, like drum mag shotguns. Saxonia has like, you know, MP40 style submachine guns, and Polini has like rifles. And I do think that's a really great design choice when it comes to like how those specific infantry like happen, but I can understand where you don't want to divert too much from the flavor of like a specific faction, and you don't want to say like every faction gets their own version of a flamethrower guy, you know.
Yeah, especially because you want the interplay of units to be between the mechs, and the infantry are very much shoved into a support role versus opposite Company of Heroes. Speaking of, were you a Rangers or Airborne kind of American player?
I feel like Airborne specifically just because of the early game requisition point caps. Being able to
broken.
Like, it's so nice to be able to say, hey, I'm in the middle of this feat. You know, I'm in the middle. I've researched the tech that lets me turn my paratroopers either from, you know, having an anti-infantry focused or an anti-vehicle focus, and I've put them right where you don't want them. And it's really easy and nice to like set them up in positions where it's like, okay, we're just going to box you in real quick.
And then
like,
late game, just harassing.
It's just phenomenal. It's never a bad idea to have. And also it's a callback for me to back when I played Red Alert 2, the paratrooper power was always like just a free drop of infantry in like a weird spot. And so it was always just a good idea to be like, hey, I'm just going to spam this every single time. Even if I'm like out of buildings or if I'm out of like resources or units, I can just spam these paratroopers all over the place.
Well, thank you for visiting, Kryo, to talk about this. I know it's a bonus episode and all that, but really enjoyed having you on. And I cannot wait to play more of this with you. And Brian can be there in the chat being a fucking freak.
I've never done that.
Brian will be there when we finish this game. Mark my words.
I'm manifesting. You're right. I'm manifesting that too.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I don't know how regularly we're going to be releasing these episodes, but basically if we've been streaming something and we have enough to talk about and we have like a good guest lined up like we had with Kryo and with Nurvuss, we'll do another one of these. And so that is just to say that I don't think we're going to be doing websites for these ones, largely just because the idea here is to get you guys to come hang out with us on Twitch. And so if you want to get the visual aspect of what we're talking about, the best way to do that is to check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/OSG_pod. If we can get to it, we'll export the VODs. But I even find that like even if we do export the VODs, we just don't have the energy or time on our plate to edit those down into something more digestible, like this podcast episode that we just made for you. So I would say the best way to engage with that stuff, if you really want to see what we're talking about, is to look that up on our Twitch channel, come hang out with us. Alice streams basically every off Tuesday, so I believe the timeline has synced up now that she'll be streaming every time we drop an episode. So that's like a good way to sort of like know when that's happening. And like we said, her and Kryo are gonna probably finish out Iron Harvest over the rest of the year. So this is a great like preview for coming to hang out with them on that. Other than that, we have our various socials, questions at osgpod.com for feedback and questions and correspondence, the OSG Discord, the Blue Sky, our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/osgpod is where you can get access to our Fast and the Furious podcast, where we are going through the mainline Fast and the Furious entries over the next calendar year. You can get that for $1 a month. We're about to record our Too Fast, Too Furious episode with a really special guest who is a card-carrying IATSE union member. Talk about some of the chops on filmmaking with that one. If you're interested in that, and you are, because I'm beaming the gamma waves into your brain from my cerebrum right now, you can get that at our Ko-Fi. Again, that's ko-fi.com/osgpod for $1 a month. Each episode is $1. That is like 2.5 to 3 hours of rabble-rousing talk on the masculine American figure and our obsession with vehicles and cars in a similar light that we talk about mechs on OSG. That we record with Iris J. I think Nico's going to be on one episode in the future, but that is Alice, Iris J, and I's little pet project that we're doing over there. So please come hang out with us on that. Please give us our due 5-star reviews on any platform that you listen to us on. Please tell your friends about us. Please hang out with us on social media. Please have long eyelashes, and if you don't have long eyelashes, please wear mascara. So that's pretty much all I have to say here. Goodbye. I love you.